on.
Well, in news from the campaign trail, a new investigation by Newsweek reveals that one of Donald Trump's businesses violated the U.S. embargo on Cuba and secretly did business there in the late 1990s and then tried to cover it up. The investigation draws on internal company documents showing Trump's firm, then called Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts, spent at least $68,000 in Cuba during a secret business trip to Havana. At the time, it was illegal under U.S. law to spend any corporate money in Cuba.
Only a year later, Trump wrote in an op-ed piece in the Miami Herald in '99, "I would rather take a financial hit than become a financial backer of one of the world's most brutal dictators. Of course, we should keep the embargo in place," he wrote. Well, for more, we go to Dallas, Texas, where we're joined by Kurt Eichenwald, who's senior writer at Newsweek, contributing editor at Vanity Fair. His cover story for Newsweek is headlined, "Donald Trump's Castro Connection." So in these last few minutes we have together, Kurt, can you just lay out what you found?
Well, very simply, that Donald Trump violated the Cuban embargo and did so with a lot of planning. They did a business trip. They spent many, many thousands of dollars, which is completely illegal, visited. This is not Donald Trump personally. They sent someone from an outside company and reimbursed him for all the costs, but that was the way to do it. They met with government officials, financiers, businessmen, came back, plotted on how to make it look like this was actually a humanitarian effort sponsored by a charity. And then after that, no deal came out of it. But 7 months later, Trump was on the campaign trail running for the nomination of the Reform Party. And he said spending money in Cuba is giving it to Castro, and he's a murderer. And, while he's standing there, he knows that he had just done that.
And,
so
the reason he
really
did that,
shocking.
Kurt, the reason he did that at the time was looking out for potential casinos in Havana at that time that his own company was in financial trouble?
Yes. There were rumblings that the embargo might be about to be revised, and so Trump was trying to get, a foot in the door. He was trying to get people on the ground in Havana who would help with the government aspects, help with the financial aspects, help with the partnership aspects, and basically was getting braced to dash through the door as soon as it started getting opened. It didn't get open, and you're not allowed to do that. It was illegal to begin with. And so it was a financial decision for what was then a very financially struggling company. And it just, to me, what's so shocking about it is how casually they broke the law, how casually, the motivation of it was so based in, just financial calculations, trying
Kurt,
to
you have a lot of people
a lousy business out of the fire.
There are a lot of people who are opposed to the embargo, who felt it was wrong, except Donald Trump would not be in that category publicly because, as you point out in the Miami Herald, he said, "I would rather take a financial hit than become a financial backer of one of the world's most brutal dictators." How do you know in this last minute that Donald Trump directly knew about this $68,000 expenditure?
Well, two things. First of all, the $68,000 was coming out from the very highest reaches of the company. It wasn't like there was some accountant doing it. The president and chief executive officer were in charge. The chief financial officer was involved. And I know from people who were directly involved in the circumstances, who were there, that Trump knew and was fully on board. You don't write a $68,000 check and it was actually a $100,000 check because they were paying for other things too, on it with a consultant that Trump is dealing with personally and have nobody know about it. But yes, he knew.
And the investigation that you did of the cover-up afterwards? Of executive...
What that entailed was after the money had been paid, there are ways for a humanitarian effort to be expended in Cuba that are legal. And it was, well, maybe we should try and make it look like this. Maybe we should get a charity to have sponsored our trip. It doesn't work that way, and you can't do a business deal or a business transaction or a business trip and then say, oh, let's make it look like it's a humanitarian trip.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Kurt Eichenwald, thanks for joining us. We'll link to your piece at Newsweek Vanity Fair. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Thanks for joining us.